Hey all, this is ArtsyWisdom. My name is Diane. Thank you for coming by. I'm going to be doing the predictions for 2025. Just had a few days off. Throat's recovering. My kids were here yesterday, and my nephew was quiet and relaxing. And surprise, surprise, everybody hung out and we visited, watched football, ate too much, and they all went home with lots of food, which young men tend to do, which I'm glad to get rid of it all. So thanks again for all my new subscribers, all my old subscribers, and the lovely commenters. And you guys have been really, really kind to me in these days and weeks. So it's been really good. So let's get started. So I'm going to break it down into different sections. Europe, generally Asia, and I have to keep checking my notes. So hopefully that doesn't get in the way of me sharing all these. I wanted to see about how the war in Ukraine was going to go. And 2025, Putin, something happening to him towards the end of the year, into 2026. I think he's going to be fading away. And I don't know if he's necessarily going to leave the earth by the end of the year, but I do think I see him receding, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And in the past, I saw him this chocolate Fabergé egg, and it was very thin. For whatever reason, now I see that chocolate egg getting smaller and denser, but just smaller, like it's disappearing. And so I know in the past he's had health issues. Maybe he had cancer or something, but he seems like he's doing okay now. So maybe he had treatment. And then his daughters came to mind, and I don't know if he's going to transfer some power to them. I don't think so, because he's got all those oligarchs that are, money, and they seem to be in charge of everything. But his daughters came to mind. So they're going to play some part in him leaving, or once he's gone, that sort of thing. As for Ukraine, so what I saw was Ukraine pushes that one section on the southeast part of the country that the Russians have pushed into. I do think they are going to take back some of that land a little bit. I feel like they're going to push Russia back a little bit, and somewhere along there. Maybe it's in that Donetsk area, but I do feel like they're going to get a little bit back. So Russia will have less land, because they will, I think this year, come up with a treaty or something to end the war, where Russia will get some of the land, like a percentage of Ukraine, what they have taken already, something like that. And Ukraine will say, okay, as long as we can settle this war, and as long as we can be done, and there'll be other parts of the treaty that they're going to, write in, but they're going to give Russia a small part of it. And then I think Zelensky's going to leave after that. I think he will be done. In his mind, in his energy, I feel like he got them through this, and he felt like he had to do that, and that was his calling as the leader and the president. I don't know if it'll be 2025. I think it might go into 2026. It really just depends on how long it takes for Ukraine to get itself back together. There'll be people coming back into the country from Russia, actually, and Poland, because maybe there'll be some part of that treaty where Russia's required to return those children that they've taken, which is terrible. And they've assigned them to different Russian families, which is horrible. But I feel like once this is all done, Zelensky's definitely going to leave that position. And maybe they'll have another election. Maybe he'll appoint, I don't know, it's too far away. Late 25 and into 26. Okay, there's that. I saw out in west of the UK, which is out in the ocean, which is the Pacific Ocean, I believe. And I saw some sort of continental drift. And that's the first thing that came to mind. So it may be an earthquake under the sea over there between the UK and the States, or Northern or Canada, Maritimes, St. Newfoundland and that sort of thing. Out there in the ocean, I see there is a shifting happening. I think it will cause some concern. I don't see it making like a tsunami, but it's going to be deep. I feel like it's really, really deep. There's a big shift that's happening down there. And then, like an earthquake is what I wrote on here. Okay. And then, because there's so many earthquakes and volcanoes all over the world, and the world is an organic thing, and it's always moving and breathing and changing and that sort of stuff. So I think that's what's happening. In the past, I saw the UK as like this striped jacket, blazer wearing, top hat wearing, kind of an old fashioned guy with, depending on the strength or the country, the economy and whatever, he's looked different. Right now, I feel like he's England, very tall, very proud, and he's standing up there clean, neat, nothing is wrong with him. So I don't know if they're trying to show how strong they are, the economy or something, but I feel like it's really big. So right now, and a lot of times I channel energy and it's in this time, so it feels like they're really tall and they're really proud and they're trying to be really strong. Now, I don't know how this works with anything, but I see on the west side of the island, the British Isle, I think south of Wales or near Wales, and then over into Ireland, I feel there's a big pushback. Like there is this English guy, the personification, and part of the Welsh or the Irish, Ireland, they're not going with the program somehow. And I know there's always difficulties in Ireland, but there's also Wales, I think, is involved. It's something with England that it's doing, and it may be having to do with the economy, but they're pushing back and they're not happy about it. Ireland, and part of it is Wales, maybe Scotland too, but it doesn't seem to be as big of an issue with them as it is with the West. I don't understand that, but I'm just telling you what I see. These are my experiments and my visions. I also saw that Keir Starmer, the new prime minister, I wanted to know if he was going to stick around, because I know he's a mixed bag. And what I felt like, he doesn't know what he's doing. I feel like what is the words I got? Like he's a soaked Christmas pudding. I felt leadened, like heavy, like thick and dense. Like he isn't sure. He's not, I want to say wily. He doesn't seem to, not move quickly is not the right word, but he just feels heavy and dense. And I'm sure he's a smart enough guy, because he wouldn't be in that position if he wasn't. But there's something, or maybe it has to do with rigidity or inflexibility, something like that. But I don't think he's going anywhere right now. I don't think he's well liked. And maybe after this thing that the West is going to push back, or Wales and Ireland will push back on, I don't know if that'll matter. But I think he's going to be okay for a while. Maybe in the fall, there might be another election. It's hard to say, right? These are predictions, so I don't know. But I feel like in the fall, there might be some pushback again for him. Denmark, for whatever reason in the past, I used to see Denmark creating this ladder that was going up, and they were making their land mass, moving things higher because of the water raising with climate change. But now I saw them hardening, like it didn't feel the water. I don't feel the water like I did. And there's something rigid about Denmark that has shifted. They maybe it's about immigration, maybe it's about letting people in, maybe it's about economy, maybe. But I saw them like a stroop waffle. There's like, I don't know why that came to mind, but it's kind of hard, even though there's caramel inside. I feel like it's like that, more rigid. And I wanted to ask about NATO and the NATO countries. And I feel like it has something to do with that, the NATO business, where they're having to be more firm and more rigid and make more plans about how they manage other countries or NATO or whatever happens with Russia and Ukraine and that sort of thing. Or maybe it's their leaders and their economy, something. They're really narrowing their focus. I feel like it's very more rigid. That's the only word I can come with. But it's solid. It feels good. It feels like they're making plans and doing all the things. Before it was kind of like they're just really a little bit all over the place. I did see in Iceland, there's a volcano popping. That was the word I got. It's popping, which sounds cute, but I don't know if volcanoes are tending to pop. This is Ukraine. Now, this is kind of weird. In Italy, I saw a bubble. Like if you had a giant white balloon, opaque white balloon over the country of Italy, and you can't see the ground, you can't see anything. It's like it covered the country, and then it popped. And underneath was it was like all this green landscape, rich, like vineyards and trees and people, communities. It felt rich. It felt abundant. And it reminded me like of old times that Italy had still in their dirt, in their history. Because I seem to look at the dirt holds a lot of energy, different wherever the dirt is and everything that's happened there. So I see Italy, there's something with this white bubble, and I don't know if it's the economy, but once that white bubble popped, it felt like, oh, we're going back to what matters. It was really good. It felt really good. Maybe people are getting back to nature. Maybe they're focusing on, the things that they do best. Olive oils and Italy's, they can do a lot of different things that I'm not aware of, but it felt like that, like more of a honor. They were so proud of that because it had this big white bubble. And I don't know if it was they were protecting themselves or if it was the economy, but something popped. That white big bubble popped. And it felt good after it did. So it took a while, and it's very low, and it's small but wide all over the country, like in the old days, and everybody's surviving, and there was a lot of abundance and prosperity. But it was very small compared to this giant bubble. Maybe they're trying to be something they're not. So they're going back to their roots kind of thing. Maybe that's what that is. Canada. Okay. The 51st state. That's a horrible thing. It's a bullying move because he's, Don Lacan is a bully. So in the past, I saw Canada in the Maritimes, them coming up with a strategy to create an industry of some sort with boats or fishing or tourism or something that would just be theirs, like separate from the whole rest of the country. And it doesn't feel as like it's going to happen as much. Like I think it was this year they were working on that, and maybe they had a lot of plans and ideas and they haven't come to fruition. But I still feel like they are working on that. It's something with boats and fishing and creating an industry that only they could supply, or, maybe it's a company that would move there. Maybe that's it. But I don't know what that would be. Maybe it's something like that. But it has to do with water, fishing, boating. And it would bring in more money, and it's localized stuff. And then, I have to, pages of notes. I did see Trudeau, Justin Trudeau leaving, and Pierre Poilievre getting in his position as Prime Minister. And the right-wing leaning parties will have more say now after that happens. In the past, I saw Poilievre running across the country with his horse and his sword, and he's going to save the day like a cowboy or like the the Calgary comes in, or but he's the right wing leaning, and I saw that they're gonna cut benefits, etc. Healthcare will suffer, and then they're gonna start to mix privatizing with public funding so they can support healthcare and support different things. And they're gonna do that because it's more of a conservative way of doing it. Instead of having the government pay for everything, it's privatized, and people can make money that way. And I know healthcare up there has been kind of touch and go in the last few years after COVID. I see that Polyev says no to Trump, whatever that means, and there's this chaos in the States creates sort of an unsettled feeling in Ottawa, which is the capital. It feels like we don't know what to do with the States. What are we going to do? Kind of feeling. It's not everybody's against the leadership. It's more Canada's concerned about the United States and Trump. So what it does do is it brings the country together, which is unusual. There's Liberal Party and Conservative Party, but this particular thing is a positive, and I feel like they unite a little bit more. Canada unites a little bit more against the bully, Don the Con, and it pulls the country together. I did see the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup, Edmonton Oilers winning the Stanley Cup. I don't know why that. And I also saw that it's funny because if Donald Trump knew what he was talking about, Canada is part of the Commonwealth, and it's all part of NATO. So if Trump to do something to Canada, guess who? He's got the whole of NATO against him, which, it's silly, but I think it's not going to go anywhere without that. It's just a lot of bluster. He just throws everything out and sees what he can push people to do, or countries, that kind of stuff. NATO. Okay. I do see that Trump is going to encourage the loosening of the connections to NATO, making Europe more vulnerable. And they're turning their back on Trump because they can't trust him, and so they're firming up. Maybe that has to do with what Denmark is doing. They're firming up, they're circling the wagons more. They're taking care of one another. And they also will show that they won't be bullied. So they're unifying there too as well. So that's really good. Still in the UK. I mean, not in the UK, but Europe. So royal family, this is kind of a side note. I did see Charles stepping down, but not like he is right now. Something I think is going to make him more tired. And I do feel like William will step in. And Charles isn't going to, I don't see him passing away or anything. It may have to do with Camilla getting sick, and he feels like he has to give her his time. But more than likely, I feel like it's him. I feel like there's something, because I think he's still taking treatment, and I believe it's radiation. I think that's what he's taking. So it's exhausting for a man of 76 or whatever he is. So I think he will step down. And I see it's kind of a dark, messy area. It's somewhere in something that happens with them. This popped in, take it or leave it. George or Louis breaks their arm, goofing around. And I looked into Princess Kate to see how she would do this year. I feel fine. I feel a little soft, and my voice is soft, and I'm not quite frail, but I feel tender, easily like exhausted kind of thing. So I still feel like that. So she is still in the recovery mode, which is, she has to take care of herself. But I see her looking at Prince William, and she loves him. She just loves him. And since this all happened with her illness and King Charles and everything, it's really brought the family together. It really has. Because before that, I think William was there was a lot of agitation and that sort of thing. Not with her necessarily, just because of the royal life and the big shift after the Queen died. I also saw this, which is not quite a prediction for 2025, but as I'm in Will's energy, Prince William's energy, as I feel, and I've said this before, he loved Prince Philip, and he thinks his dad is weak, or he doesn't like what his dad focuses on so much. And he loved the Queen and he loved Prince Philip, and I think Prince Philip is who he believes is a good example of a leader. A little bit more no nonsense kind of thing. And then, but I know Charles has a temper, but that's a little different, because he can fly off the handle. That's different than somebody who's just know what they want, and focuses and has goals. And that's, I think, the thing that he likes about Prince Philip. Now, I also saw his great grandfather in his mind's eye, and this is his grandmother's father. There's something about him that he also emulates, that he also is very connected to in some way. So I don't know about that. So it's like he skipped over Charles, and maybe he's still upset about, his mother and Camilla. Maybe that's part of it. It could be. But there's a lot of residual stuff in there. Anyway, that's what's going to happen there. And then just Harry and Meghan. I feel like Harry will be closer in proximity. I don't feel like him necessarily being in England, but I feel like he's going to be closer, maybe in Europe. I know they bought the house in Portugal, so I feel like that's going to be it. I feel like he's going to spend more time there with his children, and somehow he'd be able to jump and go and let his father see his children. I feel like Meghan that's going to be like a contract they're going to have to sign between them for her to let him take them to see their grandfather. But I also saw that Charles sending them gifts, Harry's children, for Christmas, or sending a video, something. He really misses those kids. I feel like he really misses those kids, and he didn't even know Lilibet, but he misses them, and he really wants to get to know them. So I feel that sense of loss in Charles. And I feel like in the fall, Meghan and Harry will have some big announcement. I know they're having separate careers right now, and I see them separating in a lot of ways, emotionally as well. Not yet, but it's getting closer. So I think somewhere in the fall, there's going to be some other announcement, and it may have to do with this, where they'll be living separately. I don't think he can take the kids from her, but it'll be something where they'll have an agreement. Maybe he'll take them for 2 weeks, and I don't know. But not quite divorcing. Just something like that. Okay. That is Europe for the most part. I did see a couple things about China and India and Israel and that. So what I saw China doing, they are stealing something. This is for entertainment purposes only, guys. And these are my just visions. Probably wrong. Probably, it's just what it is. But I saw them stealing stuff, and I see them secretly working on things in some part of the country where they're stealing, I got the word codes, some kind of manufacturing thing, and they're recreating something that they've gotten through spy networks or whatever it is. The other thing I did think was there's going to be a back channel to the Trump administration, and it's going to be feeding China some of this stuff. And I got backdoor. But China is not going to show their hand until they're ready, until they grow it. I feel like they're trying to grow this industry. And I don't know if it feels computery, IT, maybe it's AI stuff. I don't know, but it's very sneaky. They're doing something really sneaky. And Trump administration seems to be giving them a lot of or maybe the spies they're going to take them out of, their location. So we lose intelligence information, that kind of stuff, because they won't have all the people in place. And it's like that. I think I had something else. Wait a minute. Okay. So I saw some weird, dirty virus. That's the word. It looked dirty. I saw this virus and I looked into the world globe and I wanted to see where it was. Because, of course, you think of COVID. It's like gray and black. And I feel like it's in India. I feel like it's over there, maybe part of China, Pakistan, up that way. I see the hospitalizations and I see this dirty, and it comes from unclean things. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's like the COVID one was supposedly from those wet markets. It might be something like that. Not the market per se, but some other bacteria, things that are unclean, and it gets transferred, and it's not good. And I don't see it coming here. It's localized over there, but I'm just telling you about that. I think that was it for, okay. And I saw China, going back to China, I forgot about this. I see them like an almond cookie that's curved like a crescent shape, and it's hard and powdered sugar on it. It's rigid, and they last a long time. They don't seem to get stale. They wrapping around Taiwan, kind of taking that crescent and going around the country, not necessarily taking over, but like pushing around it. Like they're almost ready to take over but they aren't. I don't see them unless it's at the end of the year. They're right there. They're right there ready. They're like on the border waiting. They're waiting for some specific thing. Maybe it's getting Don the Con in office. I don't know. But it's encircling Taiwan, and it's metaphoric. So, all right. And then I saw Japan will get a small earthquake on the southeast part of the island. And I did see flooding from that. And I felt like North Korea is going to feel desperate. I feel like they're very desperate, and they want to show Kim Jong-un that he's in charge. I feel like they're going to shoot rockets over Korea if they haven't already. I think they've done that. I feel like they're going to do that quite a bit. And chaos is coming to South Korea. I feel like that whole presidential impeachment thing kind of triggered stuff, or it was already in place, and then he did that, and it was a catalyst. Fear is rising. I feel like this sense of fear there is rising. Now they're going to vote in a new president, and he'll be okay. He won't be bad or anything, but he won't be productive. The parliament or whatever it is, they're organized governmental agents, or, whatever they are, Senate, Congress, they aren't going to be able to get much done. I feel like there's a lot of division and fear because of whatever's been happening. And I don't feel like they're going to accomplish a lot. And then it's going to be a little bit of a, I want to say heyday. That makes no sense. It's not a heyday, but it's a lot of stuff going on between North Korea and South Korea. And then South Korea is still trying to get their feet under them after all this. And I don't feel like it's going to last forever. I do feel like it's going to happen, but there's some particular people in the parliament that are really agitators, kind of. That's the feeling I get. And they do not, it's kind of like our MTG and stuff. I feel like some of them really don't want to make a go of it, and they want to destroy the norm kind of thing, kind of like here a little bit. That's the feeling I get. So I do feel like it's going to come to some sort of sensible conclusion, but it may just kind of come to sort of a standstill-ish, just to kind of keep everything safe for a while. That's the feeling. And then I don't think he's going to hit anything, Mr. North Korean President Kim Jong-un, but he wants to show he's in charge. He's desperate. If you remember, I see him as a cookie in the bottom of behind the display case that's been there for years and dried out. And he has no one to look at him, nothing to be seen, no one to eat him. So he's screaming for attention. So that's the feeling I get. I talked about Italy, and I talked about Canada, Denmark. Oh, Australia. In the past, I've seen Australia as this 1800s lady with the big bell, like Southern belle dress. And I realize now that's when they started mining there, back in that time. And I saw all the holes all over the country, like polka dot, like her dress is polka dot. And I feel like the indigenous people there are getting even more, during this next year, are going to really feel that. I feel like their land is like getting depleted, and I feel like they're sick. I feel like they're getting pushed out of their areas, and there's something about what they're doing to the land that either the indigenous people can't, like the food or something with the dirt is chemicals, I don't know, or they're not able to grow or something that they used to do or drink water out of, I don't know, but they're going to suffer I'm sure they've suffered already, but I feel like it's going to be worse. Pushed off their land, and their resources are being sucked up. I feel like Australia is getting sucked up of its resources. And I know China sends people, they work over there. I feel like it can heal. I feel like the country can heal. It's not where you take all the milk out of a glass and it's empty and that's it. It's more of like it's removed and then everything needs to replenish itself and heal. But I feel like the Australian government or the businesses, they have to recognize this and do something about it. Or maybe they are, and they can't fight the big, maybe there's mining poachers or whatever you'd call them, people that come in and mining unauthorized. But that's what I feel like. And if you guys know something more about that, let me know. Okay, Japan, China, North Korea. I think I did that. So I think that's it. Oh, no, in Israel. So in the past, I've seen Netanyahu being trapped in an apartment or some sort of room. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember Romania, Ceausescu, when they came and they dragged him out, him and his wife, and they executed them on this wall. That's the feeling I got. Same as like Gaddafi and that sort of thing, where they're taking them and giving them no trial. It's more just like execution style. And I think it's his people. I think the soldiers or somebody ranking is taking Netanyahu out of this room, out of this place. And they're finding out about something and they're removing him unwillingly. Entertainment purposes. I don't know. But that's what I saw. And I also, maybe he's just getting taken to jail or something, because I wrote that too. I feel like, I don't know why, northern Gaza, I feel like the war will be over too, by the way. Just saying. They'll still be fighting because there's always fighting in the Middle East. It's always the case. Unrest in the Middle East. But on the northern part, Lebanon's part, I see the Palestinian people coming back in for some reason. I feel like people are moving down that way. And I don't know if they've been in Lebanon and they're coming, but I feel like they're coming down. The bottom part is destroyed. I don't feel like people are coming in right away for that. I do feel they're going to a resolution of the fighting. They're trickling in. And then I saw a new Israeli leader, prime minister. I see it being a woman. And it feels happy. This change feels happy. People are optimistic about the future when this happens. Finally, they feel like something they can grab onto. They're actually optimistic. I feel good about that. And brighter. And I wrote, the old guard is dead. That's what I got in my mind's eye. It's still not going to be decided like a two-state solution thing. But they will come to some sort of minimal treaty contract so everybody can live for now. And they're going to be working on it, though. They're going to come up with a plan, I think. And this is not this year, obviously, but they're going to work on that continually. Just a couple things here. I saw there were going to be a lot more ET sightings, extraterrestrial sightings this year. Some real, some made up. But there's a lot of fervor, chaos around Trump's administration will sort of encourage it in a way, only because they won't have people in place to, combat those. He could come out and say, but there's going to be, people won't be in place in the government that deal with things like that. And so it looks like they're lying. It'll look like they're lying, the government. And I'm sure they are at some point, but Okay. I saw that. So now I saw NATO. I did. So the Trumpster. I'm sorry. All right. I did. All right. So I saw Washington stopped functioning, basically, except for those businesses or the things that make people money. That'll continue to grow. Industries, and there'll be a lot of executive orders because they won't be able to decide on anything. There won't be a big agreement in Congress or the Senate. It'll be a lot of pushback on both sides. I do think there'll be a few things that'll pass through, and there'll be real big profits for all these billion-dollar companies. Oh yeah, so Trump is playing games with Greenland. They want to kick off the base there and just take it over because they have a big air base there. And I saw that the generals talked to Trump and settle whatever he's doing and stop him from doing this talking. And they change their minds next year if he continues. So Greenland will maybe kick us off their base. I don't know how much money we give them to keep it there, but if he continues, they're going to kick the base off their land. That's the feeling I got. Greenland. I saw, as for the Muskrat and Vivek Ramaswamy, I see Vivek staying. I see Musk eventually, sometime in the next 2 months, he'll be working with Trump, but outside of the administration, because there won't be, he's sort of like, hired gun in a way. He is off script. He needs to do his own thing. So he will be there, but he's going to be working on support of other countries. He's going to be pushing other countries to do this and that, and he's going to be a liaison. And he's also going to talk to businesses, obviously, in the States and get and work in that, but not necessarily in the administration. He's going to be outside of the administration. But because he and Trump like what they're doing for each other, making money, but they're going to butt heads eventually. So he's got to go outside. Vivek Ramaswamy is going to stay. He'll be in part of this. But I think he'll be more as a cabinet post or treasurer or secretary, and Musk is going to be somehow out of it. I don't understand how that'll work. He's going to gain support. I saw that Muskrat may sell off something in 2025. I don't know what he has, but I saw him selling off something. And by the end of the year, he moves on. And then they fight too much. And that's what I said. I saw J.D. Vance in the background. And this is for entertainment purposes only, but I see him feeling like he's a child. I feel like I want to use drugs. Not that I ever did. I want to drink. I feel like he wants to escape. And I feel like an addictive kind of personality within him. And he's trying to manage his emotion, but he's angry. And he's feeling like he's put aside like a child. So around the inauguration, this is a weird image that I got. I saw, as Trump approached the date of January 20th or whatever day it is, he did this twirling action. He spun and he got dizzy, and the date was here, and it's like right around there. And I feel like he has some sort of medical thing, health thing. Maybe it's a stroke of something, but there's something that happened. That's just what I saw. This is the first time I've ever seen that. And his spins, he gets dizzy and is physically messed up. So I think they may have to push back the inauguration. I think. If this happens, it feels like that. It feels like they have to push it back a little bit. And when they do, he's not going to be himself. He won't be 100%. This is going to take him down a route of increasing health issues. I don't know. And if that happens, I don't know what happens. That's a weird dynamic. I don't know if Vance, because they were voted in, I'm not sure. I think they will get Trump to take the oath at some point. I think that's going to happen. I just don't know if it's going to be the day that the inauguration is supposed to happen. I saw Mike Johnson's going to get voted out. I see that pretty early, like January. And then I see a woman, a loyalist, and I asked if it was MTG or Chinese. No, it's not MTG. I see a black woman. I don't know if there's any mega loyalists that are black, but that's the feeling I got. And she gets in. I see Thune, of course, in the Senate. He will push things through. I think he's going to bring more to the floor than Mitch McConnell did, because Mitch McConnell never brought anything to the floor to debate, nothing. He just only brought it until they could vote in and approve it. He really wasn't about actually debating and going back and forth. He was more about domination. I see Thune pushing things through because he wants to do that for Trump. But I also see him speaking in back rooms. There's a lot of backroom talk about to manage Don the Khan's administration, the bills. He won't be as iron-fisted as McConnell was. That's the feeling I got. I saw that Tulsi Gabbard is not going to get confirmed. She's in Putin's pocket. I saw her directly in Putin's pocket, just sitting there like a little doll. RFK Jr. is not going to get confirmed. I saw his brain is not right. I know people say he's fine, but there's something wrong with his brain. And I don't know exactly what, but he won't get confirmed. Hegseth, I said, was not going to get confirmed. He's unethical, and there's too many unknowns, and there's going to be too many unqualified secretaries. As for this year, I think I told you about the ET sightings. And I saw generals in 2025, general. There's going to be way more protests. I feel like fear and, what's that word? Fear and something. I don't know. I'm sorry. I see terrorist plots. I do see that, and domestic. And I do see them, hot spots here and there. I do see that quite a bit. It reminds me of the 60s. That's the feeling I get. I feel like there's going to be some race things happening. We had the Black Lives Matter, a few years ago or 5 years ago, but it's a different thing. Good things are, I see big forests somewhere. I feel like there's planting going on. There's some sort of resurgence in forests. And I was wondering if they were going to get stripped for oil or something, but no, it's more about increasing. So I don't know how that's happening, because the EPA and maybe the Bureau of Land Management is going to do something. Oil production is going to be way up. I saw the Dow. Now don't take financial advice from me. This is under the heading of, I don't know. I see that Dow is going to take a big dip in March or April, and then again at the end of the year. But it comes back up both of those times. I saw Tesla stock expanding, getting bigger. Tech stocks up, and then they crash. And I see with the tech companies, like I guess it would be Amazon or Google and that sort of thing, I feel like the small companies are getting eaten up. I saw them getting eaten up like a Pac-Man. Little dot. I'd seen this before. Last year was people take a lot of no tech vacations and days and weeks. They're going to be doing this more and more because tech becomes everywhere all the time. And I feel like the natural senses they'll find out that people get sick from not using their senses, and all they're using is their eyes and their brain and maybe your fingers. But when it comes to, having social engagement with other people, there's, it's missing. And they're finding more and more studies that it'll hurt children. So they're going to be doing more of that. People are just do it on their own. It's not going to be obligatory, but that sort of thing. Yeah, so I did see that government officials, the generals, or the people in charge of the secret documents, I see them putting them in either virtual file boxes or real file boxes, and keeping them locked up, because they're only going to hand him what they think is the most necessary. They're not going to just give an endless amount because they trust that he's going to be okay with it. I feel like there's a lot of people embedded or just there, unless this, they empty out all the departments, they're going to put these, actually I see them doing it before he even takes office. Nothing illegal, just protecting it. And they're going to, even with the administration staff, there's some there that are taking care of that right now. Yeah, I said that about lots and lots of protests, race rights, NATO. Okay, I think that's it for the politics. One last little bit. I looked into Sean Combs, P. Diddy, and his troubles, and JayZ and Beyonce. I saw Diddy, yes, he's going to jail. He's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. They'll find out he is continuing to try and influence witnesses, pay them, get them to not talk, turn it into a civil case that he could say, well, I'll pay you, just don't make it a criminal case. I think they're going to find he's going to continue to do that. And all he did, there's so much evidence out there, so he's going to stay in jail. I saw that my nephew said that Beyonce went back to her maiden name. I can't remember. I'll put it here. Got rid of Carter. And she's still with him. And she's not aware of what he did exactly. And he isn't telling her the whole truth. He's telling her, no, none of that happened, or little bits, but he's not telling her the whole truth. She still believes him. She still wants to stay with him. But I don't know how to say this without getting flagged somehow, but I did see JayZ watching with his man things out, doing things with that. Anyway, and so he was there, and it was like once or twice, I think that was it. But he has guilt by association. I feel like he's going to get convicted civilly and not criminally, I think. And I don't think that'll be this year. I think that's going to move on to next year. But I kind of was just going into this year. And then I think, Beyonce will stay with him for now. Last year, it popped in my head she was pregnant. She was going to get pregnant. So maybe she's pregnant with her albums, but she didn't get pregnant this year. And then I did see Sean Combs' stuff getting auctioned off. He has so much money. It's hard for me to believe that. But I saw his stuff getting auctioned off to pay for these victims at some point. I don't know if that'll be this year. I don't think that's this year, but I see that down the road. All right. I think that is it, people. There's lots of really good stuff happening. I just talked about what I saw in general about wherever I went. And yeah, I'm going to continue to check in. I'm going to do more parts the more I, look into different areas of the world. If you guys have something you want me to look into, please put it in the comment section. I'd love the suggestions. And I think that's it. You guys take care. I'll probably see you again before the new year, but Happy New Year.